Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a Thursday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios, family owned and operated with the largest selection of natural diamond jewelry, the only diamond jewelry partner of the Florida Gators. Got a lot to talk about today. We'll have Brent Beaird, our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter, and we'll have Mike Morgan from the SEC Network. If you missed it last night, I missed it. I had no idea. The Pacers win game one against the Knicks. They were down 14 points. 12 or 14 points with about 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in the ball game. They force overtime and win it. I don't know how that's possible. Gators lose 3-1 to Ole Miss in baseball. Regular season's over. Now we sit and wait to see if we travel or host. Most people think we'll be traveling now. Lacrosse and softball crank up tomorrow, as does men's golf. So a lot to talk about. The Gators were at the White House yesterday. Give me your comments on that. Thought it was pretty cool deal. No doubt about it. Let's go to the Titan Tomorrow hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tim and Brent Beaird. Brent, you ever been to the White House?
I haven't. I'd like to go one day, but and I mean those things they do for teams that's a neat situation. So congrats to the Gators for making it there, and if if Condon comes back on that front court, they may be there again next year.
Well, I think they got a chance, even if he doesn't come back. Quite honestly,
True.
They're loaded. I was fortunate when I was with the Redskins. I went to the White House, the Capitol, and all that stuff. Not because we won anything. I just Trent Lott, who is from the state of Mississippi, I knew kind of gave us me and my family a tour. So it was pretty cool. It makes you nervous when you walk in that place.
A lot of security around there, right?
Yeah, no doubt about that. Kanye Ron says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, might be going to Atlanta as a 2 seed in the Georgia Tech Regional. Yeah, we'll all find that out. I guess that would be Sunday.
Sunday they actually do the who is hosting, and then Monday for Memorial Day is when they actually do the field.
Yeah, gotcha. Let's see here. Brent, before we jump into it, I had a couple of Facebook things here I wanted to see, but of course they go away on my computer. I have to pull them up on my phone.
Yeah, really.
Got to multitask here. It's such a pain. I don't know why it goes away. But let's see here. Oh, Andy says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel, I would say the White House visit was a big success. Yeah. I think all the players were there. I'm not sure if anybody skipped out on it or not. I saw Denzel Aberdeen, who's now a Kentucky Wildcat, was there.
Good.
Sam Alexis, who's an Indiana Hoosier, I think he was there, which is fine. They're part of the team. There's no reason for them to be a part of it. All right, so Brent, let's crank this thing up. College football, people are getting excited. I know you're excited. Magazines are coming out.
Yeah, here's a magazine update. Talked to a friend who writes for Athlon, and he said that they're going to have a slimmed down version, as he put it. It's going to be about a 450-word preview and a two-deep. So you talk about just getting down to basics. That is your basic. 450-word preview is not much, but at least they will come out. Lindy's is now coming out on June the 3rd. For the National Magazine and June 17th for the SEC magazine. Phil Steele goes to press on June the 6th and will be on the stands at Barnes & Noble on July the 4th. So that gives folks a little bit of a range of when the magazines are coming out.
Yeah. Dan wants to know, why was Tebow there? I have no idea why Tim was there. That didn't make much sense to me. You got any idea, Brent?
I really don't either. I mean, he very well could have been there for in the area for another reason and ended up with them. So not real sure about that.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. But anyway, the coolest thing that I saw there, and I don't, back to the White House, they had a lady and a gentleman, I believe, two people, one playing guitar, one playing the
Yeah,
violin,
that's right.
acoustic, and they were playing "Won't Back Down." It was pretty.
Yeah, that was
It was
great, wasn't
incredible.
it?
It was
It really
incredible.
was.
No, what's going on with Rivals and On Three Sports?
Um, they have Shannon Terry put out a tweet this week. Shannon Terry is the founder of really all of this, and basically what he said was, starting in July 1st, a Rivals.com subscription will include all access to On Three. These are obviously the biggest websites for fans, and so if you get one, you'll get the other, and they have combined. Frankly, that Shannon's kind of started all of these, and he's kind of put them together. So that's going to be interesting to see where that goes. So he made that tweet and just wanted to make folks aware of it.
Yeah. A lot of people said back to the White House on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Wally Gator says, curious which two players weren't there. Anyone know? Didn't care for President Trump calling all the Florida politicians up on stage. It wasn't about them, it was about the Gator. But correct me if I'm wrong. The president does that regardless if it's the University of Florida. I think all the Ohio uh, politicians were on stage when Ohio State went there as well. So, but I would like to know which two players weren't there because I'm not sure who they were. Brent Lee Corso, we all know, is retiring. Um, do you think his last game is going to be that Alabama-Florida State game?
Well, Brett McMurphy tweeted this week that with Texas and Ohio State on Fox, it appears Lee Corso's last headgear game will be Alabama at Florida State, which obviously is where he played. So this is not confirmed yet, but I mean it frankly makes some sense with his affiliation with Florida State, but that comes from Brad earlier in the week. And the reason this made some news is obviously Texas Ohio State's the Fox game, and it was originally thought that game day for ESPN would end up at the same place over Texas Ohio State because obviously it's arguably the biggest game of the weekend. So now that appears that won't happen. Now, obviously, it has happened before that wherever Fox's game is, that ESPN game day was there too. So that doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it does, depending on what the game is. So that's kind of the latest. I would imagine we'll get some confirmation on that soon.
Yeah. All right. To confirm, our two European players went home for the summer, so they weren't part of it.
Okay.
Kublikas and Urban Klavskar. So makes sense. They probably left a couple of weeks ago. All right. Sign me up for this, Brent. The neutral site game of Notre Dame and
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, really. Lambeau Field in Green Bay.
Yeah.
Now it's not this year. It will be next year. They call this the Shamrock Series. Look that up. What that means is a Shamrock Series is any neutral site game for Notre Dame that is away from Notre Dame Stadium. So whatever you feel about Notre Dame, I give them credit because they are willing to go out and play some tough competition at some different places. So Notre Dame, Wisconsin, at Lambeau Field. Now, even though Wisconsin, you would think would have the most fans there. Shane, would that shock you at all if Notre Dame had more fans in Wisconsin in that game?
Yeah, I tell all my buddies, especially JC, because he likes to travel around and go to games, which I
Yes.
cannot. I have no desire to do that. But he's never been to Lambeau Field. I think Lambeau Field is the mecca of
Yeah,
football stadiums. There's no place like
sure.
that place. It's in the middle of a damn neighborhood, um, and it's the coolest place ever. So, the Gators, let's put Wisconsin on the schedule and let's go play them at Lambeau. That'd be fun.
Really, absolutely.
All right, what's the latest on the NIL?
Ross Dellinger had a story this week. He's with Yahoo about officials from the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, and ACC have got a document that they are circulating. The intention here is to prevent universities from using their state laws to violate new enforcement rules. It's a new concept that they have come up with. The meaning of the document is it's meant to be signed by all the power conference schools into a kind of a settlement that would keep more stability around the enforcement rules, the consequences we understand of not signing the document. Schools risk the loss of conference membership and participation. Look, they can say that, but no one's going to get kicked out because you don't sign a document. That's just not going to happen, frankly. But we're still waiting on California Judge Claudia Wilkin to sign the House versus Nation situation. She's still concerned about roster limits with this. And once she signs that, it will start into motion, and we can get some of this going and some of this behind us. So the basics here is, and I don't think this will ever stop any of this from happening, but what the big conferences are trying to do is to prevent from getting sued. So that's really what this is about. We will continue to follow it, and that's kind of the Cliff Notes version of it for the interest of time. But that's the latest thing that we found out this week.
Pouncey twins, Mike and Marquise, invite you to try the mango martinis at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, handcrafted with their J.F. Hayden liqueurs. Try those flavors or find your favorite at shopjfhaydens.com. Brent, the different leagues here, or conferences, I should say, came out with the total revenue. Does any of this surprise you?
No, it's staggering, isn't it, Shane? Frankly, this is actually from their tax records. The Big Ten, their revenue was, and this is for 24, $928 million. The SEC had $839 million. The ACC, and I know they were third, was $711 million. That's certainly not bad as far as the SEC is concerned. The Pac-12, $566 million. Big 12, $493 million. So, I mean, it's staggering to say the least. And again, keep in mind this revenue is not even counting what we're going to have in the future, particularly when we go from 12 teams to what I think is going to be 16 teams, and that will be announced sometime this year.
We always, at this time of the year, we have a list that Brent likes to throw at us. We're going to have a list here of the top 10 college football coaches. Yeah,
this is one of those fun things that ESPN does just to get a little controversy going and help guys in football and TV to have something to talk about. The top 10 coaches: Kirby Smart's 1, Ryan Day, Dabo Swinney, Marcus Freeman, Steve Sarkisian, Dan Lanning, Kalen DeBoer, James Franklin, Kyle Whittingham, and Matt Campbell. That's your top 10 list. Folks can kind of take people out, rearrange them, and play the shell game with that. But that's what ESPN came up with for their yearly look at the top 10 coaches.
Do you have anybody on that list that you don't think should be on there?
I know Penn State went the playoffs last year, but I really don't. I don't know if I trust them as far as to do it on a continuing basis. I mean, you could make the argument for Matt Campbell at Iowa State. He's still a really good football coach, as is Kyle Whittingham of Utah. But this is just who are the best coaches. And some of those guys, I mean, they're all really good coaches. It just depends on, do you think these guys belong in the top 10, or are some of them like maybe 10 through 15 or 15 through 20?
Yeah, I like Matt Campbell, but I don't think he's a top 10 coach in America.
No.
They lose way too many games they shouldn't lose.
True.
Personally. There was a Facebook Live here from John, brought to you by Mental Law. Are the Jags playing in Orlando or Gainesville? That's not been mentioned, but we had Frank Frangie on a couple weeks ago, and he and I both believe it will be Orlando. Gainesville just cannot handle the NFL. We don't have the locker rooms to support it, don't have the sideline room. There's no way they're going to let the NFL play a game here, in my opinion. Have you heard anything, Brent?
Same thing as you said. It has not been decided. There's some speculation here in the Jacksonville area that we will know soon. But I'm with you. I believe at this point Orlando's kind of going all out to get the Jaguars and made a real effort. And that's not to say Gainesville hasn't, because we don't know all that's going on behind the scenes here. But we do know that Orlando has really wants to get this done, and that may be kind of what we hear is where they may end up.
Yeah, and the stadium there is ready for NFL teams. Our stadium isn't. You got to do a lot of construction, and we don't have time or place, but we don't have the capacity to do it. So you got a stadium that's already ready to roll. So they'll be in Orlando. Brent, we got the SEC athletic director meetings, whatever you want to call them, in Destin, I think next week. Yeah. Is that correct?
It starts Tuesday. This is important. A lot of times they're just hanging by the pool and collecting big checks. This year, there's some things going on that are going to be important going on in the next few years. The SEC, yes, again, starts on Tuesday. The ACC had theirs last week. Now, the reason this is a big deal and something can actually get done is because in these meetings in Destin, the SEC presidents actually come. It's football coaches, athletic directors, and presidents. When you've got all three together, sometimes things happen. And the big thing that's going to be discussed is, does the SEC go from 8 conference games to 9? And for the first time, there might be enough interest and votes for that to happen. And the reason is, and this has kind of been leaked over the last few weeks, is, okay, if we go to 9 games television, that means we need and deserve some more money for having a 9th SEC game. What's been talked about is, and leaked, is there is some interest and willingness on the part of television that they would up the ante and pay more for that. So, but there's still a lot to go on here, is how, if they say yes, that's what we want to do, how soon would this happen? Now, we've got the contract, the next TV contract starts in 2026, new playoff, and that would be going from, and they're going to decide this year. Are we going from 12 to 14 or 16? I think they go to 16, and it's just a matter of time before that happens. So I think what they're trying to do is get everything together for this next TV and playoff contract that goes from 26 to 31. And if you're going to play a 9-game schedule and you're going to do it sometime within that schedule, the thought process is they may get this ready and even start it next year. That would be a task to get that done. But these are all things that's going to be taken. And Shane, you and I have talked about this, and you and I have worked together, and we've talked about it almost every year. And the question is, could this be the year that they finally make progress to have this actually happen?
Yeah. Text here on the Titan Mar text line from Frank in Chicago. He says, Shane, could you please describe your first experience playing in a regular season NFL game? My first start, Frank, was in 1999 against the Kansas City Chiefs in Chicago on opening day. And we won the game. But I thought the coolest thing was, when you're not a starter, you don't, in the NFL, if anybody's ever been to an NFL game, what they do is, depending on, they either introduce the starting offense or they introduce the starting defense. And your team basically lines up, kind of forming a tunnel, and they introduce each player and they run out. It's kind of a cool deal. So they introduce the offense, and obviously, as I'm running through the little tunnel, so to speak, of all the Bear players, every one of them are doing the Gator chomp, and it was pretty cool.
I
So,
bet.
but it was I was a little nervous, but played really well against the Chiefs, and we won the game. So, thanks for the text there, Frank. All right, Brent, let's go around the SEC. Anything interesting? Oh, wait, real quick, we had a question from Clint on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. He says, Brent, how do you believe, or who do you believe has the best wide receiver room in the SEC? My Auburn buddy believes they do, but I say
Yeah.
Alabama and Florida.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Ryan Williams at Alabama, obviously, and Dallas Wilson at Florida, for instance, too. I can tell you this: Georgia will be better. Now, Georgia's receivers had 30 drops last year, 30. But that group's going to be infinitely better than they were. But yeah, Shane, I would agree with you. I think Florida and Alabama will certainly be some of the best. Georgia will be improved also. And LSU, as we love to say here, always has dudes.
Yeah.
And look, Nussmeier can make, and Shane, you can explain this but better than anybody, but there are some quarterbacks who kind of they raise the level of the talent on the field with them, and I think Nussmeier may be one of those guys who can do that.
Yeah. I would say the top four schools, and time will tell with the wide receiver rooms, are Alabama, Florida, Auburn, and probably LSU.
Yeah.
I do like Auburn's. They had a ton of really good, highly recruited freshmen
Yes.
last year, and then they got the number 1 receiver from Georgia Tech out of the portal. So,
Yeah, the
uh,
Singleton kid, yes.
yeah. All right, what's going on in Tuscaloosa?
Well, I think the main thing there is they have a lot of confidence. They've got nine guys coming back on defense. Ryan Grubb is the new offense coordinator who worked with Kalen DeBoer. So I think that's pretty fascinating. And look, to Shane's point, we've got a little bit in here about the wide receivers. Another one they got is Isaiah Horton, who is at Miami. Jeremy Bernard comes back, who played well. We mentioned Ryan Williams. Jalen Hale, who got hurt, he's coming back. And this Lotsier Brooks is a guy, he's a young guy who they really like also. So yes, the wide receiver room will be better this year in Alabama.
Yeah, I want to skip down to Auburn. I think Hugh Freeze has more pressure on him than any other coach in the league. What do you think?
I think that's fair, and I think he knows that. I mean, even Freeze was. Here's Freeze's comment about that, Shane. I'm not a fool. I think we've got to go to a bowl game. So he's aware of. I mean, he is 11-14 in his first 2 years. That's not acceptable. anywhere. And the current win total for Auburn, according to some of the betting lines, is around 7.5. So 7-5 would be better than what he's done, but that still would not make him happy there, Shane. I can assure you of that.
Yeah, the Gators picked up a kind of a surprised commitment. Obviously, it's a verbal commitment, but good
Mm-hmm.
things are happening in Gainesville.
Well, there's no doubt about that. J.J. Perez is 6'4", 360, the
Hmm.
defensive tackle from Cleveland, Glenville. He also was an Ohio State target too. So nice pickup for Florida. I'm sure you talked about Bird Sherrill leaving and going to the Jets, and when you go in the NFL, I understand that. Also, and we talk a lot about Lagway, but in case he gets banged up, who's coming in, and this quarterback room may be a little better than we think it is. Frankly, Harrison Bailey, Aiden Warner, Tramel Jones. So, if they had to have someone come in for a few plays, for a drive or whatever, Shane, I think this offense is good enough to get it done.
Yeah, and Will Griffin, the
Yes.
quarterback out of Tampa Jesuit, was invited to the Elite 11 for whatever that's worth. Georgia Bulldogs, anything happening in Athens?
I think they're all looking at improvement here and where that's going to go. They've lost a lot of their production, but they are really excited about some guys. Again, this kind of wide receiver theme today. Zachariah Branch, who comes over from USC, his brother came with him too. He plays defense, but they're really excited what Branch might be able to do. Also, but and they love Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. But the thing we've got to remember is he still had a small sample size as far as his playing. So there's a lot we still don't know about him. But I certainly think he's going to be the starter, and look for improvement with him too.
Yeah, another coach who I think it's a huge year for him is Brian Kelly at LSU.
Oh, there's as much pressure on Kelly as there is anybody. And again, they go to Clemson to start the season. LSU's lost like their last 5 or 6 games in a row to open the season. So they really need a better season. We've talked about Garrett Nussmeier, and they've got a really good receiving crew too. Aaron Anderson is an Alabama transfer. Nick Anderson, no relation, is from Oklahoma. And maybe the best one they got is Barry Brown from Kentucky. Their leading tackler with Weeks and Harold Perkins. Both those guys come back. So, Shane, there's no shortage of talent in Baton Rouge. The question is, are they going to be able to put it together?
Yeah. South Carolina, Brent, obviously they were kind of in the playoff talk last year. A lot of excitement for them. I'm still very hesitant on them. What's going on up in Columbia?
Yeah, and I'm with you. Lenore Sellers is a good quarterback. He's a dual threat guy, but needs a lot of work on the passing game. That's going to be important. They have an intriguing game against Virginia Tech to start the year. It's a neutral site game in Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta. So that will certainly bear watching. Virginia Tech went very good last year. They were 6-7, lost to Minnesota in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Brent Pry thinks they're going to have a much better year this year. So that would be an interesting game, and a game South Carolina really needs to get off to a good start with.
Give us some nuggets, Brent, before we get you out of here.
Yeah, Tennessee is also replacing a lot of their wide receivers too. They lost Squirrel White to Florida State, is a matter of fact. So that's but look, to me, the big losses for Tennessee is Dylan Sampson, the running back, and a lot of that front seven with James Pierce, who ended up going to the NFL. Texas is lost Gunnar Helm this off season, is trying to replace him. Also, Jack Endress may be the tight end in order to do that. They are loaded in talent with Texas. We'll certainly talk about them more as we go. Texas A&M, Mike Elko is trying to fix their defense. Marcel Reed's a good dual threat guy, needs to work on his passing game too. So a lot going on here. And if folks have not seen this, Florida State, now obviously they made a lot of staff changes, and also the Sawchuk kid, the running back from Oklahoma, transferred late to Florida State, so that may give them a little bit of a boost in the running game, which they would need to be able to do that also. So one of the more interesting things, I'll say this as my last one here, Mac Brown, the former North Carolina football coach, says North Carolina has invested money, and get this, lowered academic standards to help Bill Belichick succeed. They've committed money and they've helped him with the academics, and they're hoping that that's going to make a big difference this year with North Carolina, this year and the next few years.
Be interesting. Brent, good stuff as always. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week, my man.
You too, brother. Take care. That's
Brent Beaird. Join us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Quick timeout. Come back. We'll have Mike Morgan from the SEC Network. You're watching and listening to PodUp Matthews in the Morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, Dave & Buster's, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Sign, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
Naysayers, setbacks, injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
Coach, you know what always impressed me? How you beat Florida State to win the 1996 National Championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave Los Linderos Tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Linderos Tequila, smooth enough to drink neat, bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Landeros Tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Landeros.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. There are many car washes in Gaines, but only one Gallo Car Wash. Owned by a UF alum and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes. Locations on 13th Street and Southwest Wilson Road, and coming soon to Jonesville. Back to the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, our good friend of the program from the SEC Network, Mike Morgan. Good morning, Mike. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, Shane. You know, I hear you and JC always talk about your golf exploits, and I'm not good enough to give you any exploits. It would just be an exercise in futility. But I can give you a rec league basketball exploits. Had a double header last night, and I'm feeling it. I'm hurting. I'm aching all over, Shane. This is not easy anymore.
Does anybody play defense in rec league basketball?
I'm telling you, in this league they do. This is not like the church league 2-3 zone. They don't do that out here. Everybody plays man, and somehow I developed the rep as a pretty good shooter, so I usually get their best defender. So it's you got to work to get your shot. It's not, you don't just stand there on the wing against a 2-3 like, hey, I'm open, then chuck it up. It's a little more competitive than that. And we're all over the hill, but we all still love to play. So I enjoy it. It keeps me sane, Shane.
Yeah, I understand totally. You got to have something to keep you competitive, no question about it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Let's talk SEC baseball, Mike. Gators getting knocked out last night, 3-1 to Ole Miss. I'm not sure now if they're going to host. I think the talk was if they beat Ole Miss or whoever won that game is probably going to host. Any thoughts?
Right. Well, the easy way, and I never give the committee the benefit of the doubt of actually doing a really, really deep dive. Like if there's an easy way to take out, then they will. So in other words, I mean, you just nailed it. Like two teams that have similar resumes, and I guess there's one more you could throw into that group. Maybe it's Alabama. I'm going off the top of my head right now, but when they go head to head in Hoover, like they're so desperately wanting, this has always been the challenge with conference baseball tournaments. You want to make these games relevant. You want to make coaches do everything they can to win them. So in order to do that, you really need to make this the ultimate tiebreaker. And I'm guessing that's what they'll do. Now, Florida does have a case, and I didn't see the updated RPI this morning, but of the three bubble teams to host, Florida had the best RPI, and they were also the hottest team going. So if you just went on those two metrics, Florida would still have a very good chance at it. And I think they have a chance, but my faith in the committee is usually very slim, and it's usually they'll take the easy way out. And the easy way out is two teams that were on the bubble, one beat the other in the SEC tournament.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. They just got to sit back and wait now, but we'll probably be on the road is my guess. Mike, I don't know if we've talked to you about this, but obviously we talked about it briefly. I think JC and I did. You know, A&M was the #1 team in America at the beginning of the year, and they're probably not going to make the tournament. Can you think of ever imagining, or has this ever happened before?
I can't remember this level. No, I can't remember a preseason #1 that's taken this bit of a toll. And without doing a complete deep dive on 2025 Aggie baseball, I'm sure they've had some injuries like everybody else, but it's not like they lost their entire weekend rotation. You know, I've seen that happen where a team that was really good literally lost their Friday, Saturday, Sunday guy, and then they failed to make the tournament or failed to have a successful season. You can almost justify that a little bit because, as I always like to point out, like college baseball is not like the pros where if you're the Braves and a Spencer Strider goes down, you make a phone call to AAA Gwinnett, and you bring up a guy in A.J. Smith-Sauber Sawyer, who has been terrific and, has major league stuff. You don't have that luxury in college where there is no farm system and you can't make a trade, at least not in the middle of the season. We're doing everything else like the pros, but that much you can't do as of today. So it's an epic collapse. Think about it, Shane. We were talking about this the other day on JC and Morgan. Look at what Texas A&M has gone through this year. Nobody's going to, cry tears for one of the richest programs in the history of college athletics. But within the last however many months, first off, you pay $75 million for Jimbo to go away. You bring in Mike Elko, who I think is a good coach and a good hire, but they did go 8-5, Shane, and they did lose to Texas, Big Brother, again, and then they went and lost a bowl game to Southern Cal. So you spend all this money on football, you go 8-5. Basketball, you make it to the tournament, but you get bounced in the first round, and your head coach leaves for a Big Ten job out of nowhere. I mean, I don't think anybody had that on their radar with Buzz Williams just leaving. And then in baseball, your preseason number one, after you lost Schwarzenegger, your baseball coach from a year ago that took you to Omaha within an eyelash of winning a national title, he leaves for Big Brother in Texas. You bring in this new coach, and he's part of one of the biggest collapses in college baseball history. It has not been a banner 12 months in College Station.
And you left something out. They were the number one overall seed in softball. And
that's right. Then they got bounced by Liberty, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, you're very good point. It's amazing. Look, in a day and age where I think the average fan, even if you're a school that has resources like a University of Florida, the average fan is like, enough is enough with money dominating college athletics. But there are some examples of a program like a Texas A&M where you can have all that money and it doesn't necessarily guarantee you anything. Now they've got great facilities and they can spend all this NIL money and everything else. That's about to change a little bit, by the way. We can get into that. But if you're Texas A&M, you got to be saying, what else can go wrong this year? We have all these resources. We're spending all this cash. And still the results are not exactly ultra successful in any of the major sports.
Yeah, no question. And the Longhorns are doing well. So that really puts
doing very well. Yeah.
Brian's question for you on Facebook Live brought to you by Mellon Law. Mike, did you cover any games last year with Boogie Flan? What is your impression of him as a player? How do you see him impacting Florida?
Great question. Yes, I did. I mean, I saw every SEC team in person at least once, and Boogie was one of them. I thought before the injury, Boogie was clearly the best player on Arkansas, was clearly one of the best point guards in the country. So to me, it's a massive pickup. There's always two things I look at on a acquisition like this. Number one, the talent, and the talent speaks for itself. Number two is the fit, and never underestimate the importance of that. And I just think in the style, the up-tempo style that Todd Golden and his team plays, I think it's an outstanding fit. Now, look, there's incredibly huge shoes to kind of fill here because Walter Clayton just went through one of the best seasons in the history of Gator basketball. And Boogie Flan, he could do everything right and still not put up the kind of year that Walter Clayton just did in a Gator uniform. That being said, it is a major acquisition. It is a major pickup. I do think he will be a very good fit. I do think Florida will once again, be competing for very big prizes. I don't think you just replace a Walter Clayton. I think there's so many intangible things that were there that Boogie Flan is going to have to prove that he can provide as well, like Walter did. But I think in a day and age where there's all this portal activity going on and everybody in the SEC is picking up new players, and I look at the list like everybody else does, to me, Boogie Flan is about as good of a fit of any player that got picked up in the portal that there is out there in the SEC. I think it's massive for Florida. that's obviously trying to fill a massive void with the loss of Walter Clayton.
Yeah. This text on the Titan and Mark text line from James says, Mike, I know you're an NBA guy. Did you happen to see the ending of the Pacers and the Knicks? How do you blow a 14-point lead with a little over 2 minutes?
Yeah. So when I got back from my own little basketball soiree, I caught literally the end. So I didn't see the massive comeback. I saw the shot by Halliburton, which this is really before my time and your time, Shane. But I'm kind of a historian. Dave Cowens hit a shot. Was it Dave Cowens? No, Tommy Heinsohn hit a shot for the Celtics one year over the Lakers, where the Lakers clearly had a better team and should have won. But he hit a 17-foot shot that hit the back of the rim, bounced straight up in the air over the backboard, and then dropped. And that's when Jerry West and the Lakers are like, we just have no luck at all. That shot should have never have gone. Well, Halliburton shot last night, which was a deep 2 and not a 3 like some of the announcers called it initially. That's exactly what it reminded me of. It hits the back of the rim. Rarely ever do you see it go that high, straight up in the air, over the backboard, and then through. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, that set up the eventual victory for Indiana. I'm not sure what the Knicks did there in the final possession. It kills me, Shane. This happens in college all the time. When you call a timeout and you've got an out-of-bounds play and you've got to hit a shot, there's just no excuse to not get a good look. I mean, even if it's the best defense in the world, when you've got time to design a play and set screens and you've got an adequate amount of time, basically that was a desperation shot. Now, Brunson's been terrific and he's been clutch, but that to me, you can get a better looking shot out of a timeout. Nevertheless, it's a huge win for Indiana. I think it's going to be a ultra entertaining series. It's a weird year because I don't know if we have a great team, but somebody's going to win this thing, a la Milwaukee that year and Toronto that year. Somebody we didn't expect at the beginning of the year will win it.
Florida Victorious, proud NIL partner of the Florida Gators, joined today to help make Florida victorious. A few more minutes with Mike Morgan from the SEC Network. Mike, you mentioned earlier about NIL. Did y'all discuss that on your program this past week?
Yeah, and we're getting into it today. In fact, this morning we'll be putting together another JC and Morgan YouTube and everything else, Spotify. Hit your subscribe button. But we're gonna go over that today. The new news now. We can't blame the NCAA for everything anymore because there's going to be this new enforcement committee, and we're not going to have a czar of college football like many people have kind of desired here of late, but we are going to have a guy who's going to make 7 figures, who's basically in charge of everything that has to do with this revenue share. I mean, this is kind of like a czar of the salary cap in a lot of ways, because you got that $20.5 million, which I believe that's finally going to be settled here soon. It just sounds to me like this judge is trying to finalize a couple of things, but I don't think it's going to take much longer. And when that does, as has happened in the history of time in college football, teams will try and cheat. They'll look for loopholes, and they'll try and find creative ways to go above the $20.5 million. Because, for example, Texas, you mentioned them earlier. What they have done, and Ohio State has done, and some other teams have done, and maybe Florida to some extent. I don't know the exact numbers for the Gators. You would know that better than me. But Texas and Ohio State have front-loaded about $30 million. And you might say, well, wait a minute, Mike. I thought the number was 20.5, and that's for all sports. How are they spending over 30 on football? Because they have front-loaded it before this deal has gone through. I mean, here we are in late May, and it hasn't gone through yet. So you can go ahead and spend as much as you want right now before the deal is in place, front load those contracts, and that's what those programs are doing. But in theory, once this thing is settled, you can't, most teams will have $15, $16 million as kind of a salary cap. And you say, well, wait a minute, what about the NIL deals? Well, the NIL deals will have to go through this guy, this czar, and his committee, full of people for the Power Four, that are you're going to have to prove it's a legitimate NIL deal. So you can't just say, I'm DJ Lagway and I'm going to do radio commercials for the Swamp, the restaurant, not the actual stadium, and they're going to run on the Shane Matthews show, and for my efforts, I'm going to get $2 million a year. That's not going to pass the smell test. That's not going to pass the market value test. So supposedly, this is going to be a more legit revenue sharing. Everybody's kind of playing under the same financial umbrella. Where I'm cynical, Shane, and I think many people are as well, is that there's still the bag man. There's still dirty money. There's still ways to get recruits and players on your roster money through other channels that will not be on the books for that $20.5 million or 15 to 16 specifically for football. So I'm very curious to see how this all winds up, but this is really one of the most radical things we've ever seen happen in college athletics, and it's coming right down the pike.
So this czar guy that's going to make this decision on the NIL deals, don't you think there's going to be some issues? Let's use DJ, for example. Let's say Titan MRI wants to give him whatever to do commercials.
Mm-hmm.
And then Arch Manning has a deal with Caesars Sportsbook. Okay, he may say, okay,
Right.
we're going to let Arch Manning do that one, but we're not going to let DJ do commercials for Titan MRI. I mean,
Right.
He's going to make that decision, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you have every right to sound cynical when you say that. I have the same cynicism, Shane. Like, okay, who are you to provide? Who are you to be the expert on what the market value is of each player for each business in each market?
Mhm.
So, for example, like Quinn Ewers last year did the Dr. Pepper commercials. Remember those awful commercials at the beginning of the year?
Yeah.
And there's Quinn. So Dr. Pepper can justify, hey, look, this is a national campaign. Here's the starting quarterback for Texas. We're going to give him 7 figures to do this commercial. Now, I'm not sure that's the price tag, but let's just say theoretically he got $1 million to do it. That's hard to argue against. That is a major soda, a national brand running on national TV commercials. But that's certainly different, with all due respect to the great folks at Titan MRI. That's a different value attached to that than it would be Dr. Pepper. And, if I'm doing commercials for a national casino, then that's going to be different than doing commercials for the local pizza chain in a college town. So they are going to have to do this case by case. Literally, that is part of this guy's job. And they send it to a committee and they determine, okay, that's legit. That's not legit. This is true market value. That's not true market value. And if you wind up trying to kind of skirt the rules and you get caught, supposedly that's going to be a pretty serious infraction, and you're going to get not just a slap on the wrist, but you're going to get hit pretty hard. We don't know what all this looks like. Right now, it's just theoretical, but that is supposedly how it's going to be once this settlement deal is finalized.
It'd definitely be interesting. I mean, something needs to be done. There's no question, to try to level the playing field, if at all possible. But I'm with you. They're still going to be the bag men running around town.
Oh yeah, the bag men never retire, Shane. They produce other bag men. They raise and foster future bag men. It's in the genes.
Yes. Mike, good stuff as always. Let everybody know how they can listen to your podcast.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. We continue to grow. This is our 9th year now, JC and Morgan. And if you're a college football fan, we do it year round. As everybody knows, there's no off season anymore. You can subscribe to it on YouTube or Spotify, iTunes. It's free, and it's usually about once a week. We had Josh Pate on last week, which was epic. Today we're going guestless, but we got a lot to get to today, and invite you to come and listen. We'll start rolling film, if you will, at about 9:45.
Great stuff. Appreciate your time, Mike. Take care, bud.
Thank you, Shane. Enjoyed it.
Mike Morgan joined us on the Titan MR Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union and the bank, where Stephen Orr Spurrier does his banking. 2022 PGA Championship at Southern Hills. Your 2017 champion, Justin Thomas, beats Will Zalatoris and Mito Pereira in a 72-hole playoff. So, not 72-hole playoff. This is written wrong. 3-hole playoff. But anyway, Justin Thomas was your winner of the 2022 PGA Championship. I want to thank Brent Beaird and Mike Morgan for joining us on the program today. We'll be here tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow we got Gator lacrosse. We got Ben's Gator golf. We got softball. Big weekend ahead. Have a great day, folks. See you tomorrow. Take care.